She laughed while destroying my $1 million presentation, but she didn't know the final slide wasn't mine. It was the truth she buried 7 years ago. I walked into the glass building slowly, my shoes echoing against the polished floor. Everything looked expensive, clean, cold, the kind of place where mistakes were remembered forever. I adjusted my jacket, even though my hands were already shaking. 7 years ago, I had left this city with nothing but a small bag and a broken heart. I had promised myself I would never come back. But life doesn't care about promises. Today, I was here for a $1 million presentation. One chance to prove I was not the same man who left. The conference room was on the top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city below, alive and rushing, just like my thoughts. The long table was filled with silent faces, laptops open, coffee cups untouched. The air smelled like steel, glass, and quiet pressure. Then I saw her. Aisha. She stood near the window, sunlight touching her face. She looked confident, sharp, powerful. Her posture said she belonged here. For a second, time stopped. My chest tightened in a way I hadn't felt in years. She turned and our eyes met. Her lips curved into a small smile, polite and controlled. Not the smile I remembered. Not the one that used to make me feel safe. This one felt distant, careful. We had not spoken in 7 years. Not since the night she walked away without explaining anything. Back then, we were building dreams together. Late nights, shared plans, quiet hopes. I had trusted her more than anyone. Something had gone wrong. Something big enough to break us. But she never told me the full truth. Now, fate had placed us in the same room again. I took my seat, trying to steady my breathing. My presentation file was open, ready. Still, my mind kept drifting back to her. To the past. To the questions that never left me. She glanced at me once more, then looked away. In that moment, I knew this meeting was not just about business. It was about everything we never said. The presentation began with a soft click of the remote. My first slide appeared on the screen. I took a breath and started speaking, keeping my voice steady. Every word mattered. This deal could change my future. Then Aisha spoke. "That number doesn't look right," she said calmly, but loud enough for everyone to hear. I paused for a second. My eyes moved back to the screen. The number was correct. I knew it. I had checked it 3 times the night before. "It's based on last quarter's data," I replied. She tilted her head slightly and smiled. That data was revised. A few people exchanged looks. Someone gave a short laugh. My stomach tightened, but I moved on. As I explained the next slide, she interrupted again. Then again. Each time polite. Each time sharp. Each time cutting a little deeper. It felt familiar. Painfully familiar. 7 years ago, she used to correct me the same way. In meetings. In front of others. With that same calm smile. Back then, I told myself she was helping me. Now, it felt like something else. During a short break, people stood up to stretch. I stayed where I was, staring at the table. Aisha walked closer. I could smell her perfume, soft, but heavy with memory. "You're still chasing big dreams," she whispered, her voice low. "Some things never change." I looked up at her. Some things do. For a moment, her eyes flickered. Just a second. Fear? Regret? I couldn't tell. Her hands were clasped tightly together. One finger kept tapping against the other. She avoided looking at me for too long. Something was wrong. I remembered the last night we spoke. Rain hitting the window. Her eyes red from crying. She had said, "You'll hate me one day." I had laughed back then. I told her I could never hate her. Now, sitting across from her in this cold room, I felt the weight of those words. As the break ended and everyone returned to their seats, I realized this presentation wasn't just about numbers. It was a quiet war. The room settled into silence as the door opened again. The elite client walked in. He was calm, older, and carried a quiet authority that made everyone sit straighter. Conversation stopped. Even Aisha froze for a moment before forcing a professional smile. He didn't return it. Instead, he looked around the room, then straight at me. "I've reviewed the presentation," he said slowly. "And before we move forward, there are things that must be said." Aisha's fingers tightened around her tablet. He turned toward her. You've presented this project as your own vision. She nodded quickly. Yes, I led. He raised his hand. No, you didn't. The air felt heavy. I could hear my own heartbeat. 7 years ago, he continued, this core model was created by him. He pointed at me. Every key idea came from his work. You submitted it after he left the company. A low sound moved through the room. Shock. Confusion. Aisha's face drained of color. Her lips parted, but no words came out. The client didn't stop. There's more, he said, his voice softer now. You didn't just take his work. You ran from something bigger. I felt a cold wave move through my chest. She was pregnant, he said. With his child. The room went completely silent. My breath caught. My legs felt weak, but I stayed standing. She left without telling him, the client continued. Later, she walked away again. I adopted the child when she chose her career over everything else. Aisha's eyes filled with tears. She shook her head slowly, like she was breaking from the inside. I couldn't speak. I didn't need to. All the confusion from 7 years ago finally had a shape. A reason. A truth. The client turned to me. You deserved the truth then. You deserve it now. I looked at Aisha. She couldn't meet my eyes. This was my revenge. Not loud. Not cruel. Just the truth, spoken out loud. At the moment she tried to make me feel small again. And this time, the room saw who she really was.